And right over here was, this barn over here was our hog barn for farrowing hogs. So we did conventional hogs many, many years ago. I barely remember it as a kid. So we were the traditional farmers.
So to be able to partner with other farms who don't necessarily want to get into the marketing, the shipping, the sales.
On our farm, we've just been a pasture-based. With the cattle, it's 100% grass-fed beef. Any of the herbivores, it's 100% grass-fed. That is our protocol. This is where all the weekly meat orders get packed and fulfilled, and they get sent out through FedEx, UPS, to various carrier companies.
Wow.
They're doing roughly around 1,400 orders a week.
All right. So we are at a really exciting place this morning, someplace that everyone has always asked us to go since the beginning. I'm here with Bruce, and this is Seven Sons Farm.
This is, yep.
Yeah, yep. So we made it to Seven Sons Farm. You guys are, I don't know, kind of like a staple name here in Indiana. Like everyone outside of Indiana is like, oh, did you go to Seven Sons? Well, we have now. So tell me a little bit about how the farm got started, some of the background, and what you guys are doing now.
Yeah, yep, we'll do. Well, Olivia, glad to have you here. I'm glad you reached out and that we could get this scheduled. But yeah, Seven Sons Farm right here in Roanoke, Indiana. This got started back in really the 90s by my parents. Seven Sons was founded in 2000, but when my parents bought this property, it was originally just about 100 acres here.
Okay.
Or actually it was just 20 acres here on the farm, and there was at least about 1,000 acres for row crops. And right over here was, this barn over here was our hog barn for farrowing hogs. So we did conventional hogs many, many years ago. I barely remember it as a kid. So we were the traditional farmers. My dad, everything he knew was educated down from Purdue. Conventional styles, but if you've read our story online, my mom had a health crisis after having my brother Bryce, and she was for the most part bedridden. This was before I was even born. It really disrupted our family. My mom's been battling her health ever since then, and she's improved, but it really opened my parents' eyes to just the food system and general health, and the struggle she had with conventional medicine, and just even trying to get her diagnosis, a lengthy process. Challenged their thinking with what they were doing with agriculture. And they eventually sold out of the hog operation, I think in the mid to early 90s. We transitioned to grass farming and bought cattle through a mountain pasture. And I say through a mountain pasture in the sense of we really didn't know what we were doing at the time. But we did meet a soil agronomist, really, really brilliant guy that helped tutor my dad and my mom's health at the time. And he kind of got us started with what people now refer to as regenerative agriculture. Yeah, we just started with some cattle, and as we all grew older, my oldest brothers, Blake and Blaine, started originally into the business, and my parents gave the company down to, the Seven Sons company down to Blake and Blaine. And as the years went by, we all started growing up and getting involved into the company. Grew from just a farmstead shack here on the property. It was actually originally more so right here. Just a tiny little garden shed, basically, is how we started off. My second oldest brother, Blaine, was always into web design and just, internet and marketer. And he started our website back in the early 2000s. We eventually started having customers driving all the way from Chicago and filling up their, meat coolers. And that's, that drive is a long time. That was a lot of commitment from loyal customers. And that's when we started getting requests for the buying club model, similar to Joel Salatin back in the day. And so we launched our buying club model. That really catapulted us into the next 10-year stage of growth. We had a few hundred different locations throughout Indiana, Michigan, Chicago, mostly Chicago and some Ohio.
Wow.
And Kentucky. So yeah, it just kept growing. Originally, this started off as just kind of a, for my parents was this passion to just make sure we're producing quality products. As we started taking it over, we're trying to just originally just provide an income for our family. But it's grown and morphed, and our passions are still there, and it's just changed to not only just providing income and sustainability for us, but proof of concept models for other farms to mimic and have viability with agriculture, which is extremely hard to do, as I'm sure you've traveled around and hear that sentiment from many different farmers.
Absolutely. So. Are there 7 of you then?
There are, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So
I have 6 other brothers.
Okay. Okay.
So it's Blake, Blaine, Bryce, Brock, Brooks, Bruce, and Brant. So,
that's a lot of B's.
That's a lot of B's. BLs, 2 BLs, and then it's BRs.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, that's really cool. So your dad kind of started the company. And then when did it transition to Seven Sons? Because did he, I guess I'm asking because did he transfer it knowing that it would, all of you would kind of take over?
My parents, I think my parents' dream was for that. They've always wanted to provide that for us. But no, I don't think we can all say that we predicted, what would happen. as the years went by. My dad has been, intentional. I really appreciate both my parents, their intentionality with us boys as we grew up, provide that opportunity for us on this farm. So we took it from there,
and here we are today.
Yeah. Yep.
So we're going to see quite a bit of your farm.
Yep.
And I think first you said we wanted to go into the warehouse and look at distribution.
Yep.
So you started the kind of like the shipping model. And I almost, maybe I'm incorrect in saying this, but you guys kind of are the forefront for shipping meat product in Indiana. Like if anybody was looking to ship meat product, they looked to you guys if they were in Indiana, right? Like you guys are kind of like the first to do that?
I would say that was an important part for us when it came to scaling, is learning the shipping model. And I guess I can't say for sure if we were the first, but we have tried to really perfect it. And I do know that a lot of people reach out to us when it comes to just the packaging and sourcing and how to go about that. Because we've spent many years trialing that and testing it to get to this point. So I don't want to give absolutes, but it does feel like we've
kind of had to sit the foreground at the very least.
Yep.
So what are we looking at? Oh, this building is a lot longer than I thought it was.
Yeah, so this is this is warehouse 1. This was actually years ago. This was all we had, and all of our fulfillment came out of here. All of our meat packing. We had freezers. You still have one right here, sitting on the outside of the building. Since then, it's transitioned to more of our egg processing warehouse. So right here we got egg processing team and the washing and grading equipment. They just finished up packing some orders for the day. We go through, this machine is rated for at least 40,000 eggs a day.
Wow.
So we're not doing that much right now. Quite a bit can go through.
That's a lot.
Yep.
Before, maybe we should set the ground too.
Yep.
What different enterprises do you have on the farm?
So we have, our staple is beef. About 40% of our revenue is through beef.
Okay.
And then pork and poultry, so the meat birds. Egg would be the next category, like lamb, bison, seafood products. So.
You do seafood products too.
Yes.
How do you do seafood?
Wow, it's another partner.
Okay.
We don't.
I was like, wait a minute, or am I getting ahead of myself?
So yeah, I guess I should say that like the models that we've done on our farm would be the beef, pork, lamb, chicken, and eggs.
Very cool.
I don't think I missed any.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So then
And bison,
and the bison.
Yep.
So we've got the egg washing station here, some freezer storage, and then we come into
cooler. Yeah, that's cooler for the eggs.
Oh, for the eggs. And then we come into here.
Yep. This is our fulfillment center. So this is where all the weekly meat orders get packed and fulfilled, and then they get sent out through FedEx, UPS, to various carrier companies.
Okay.
So
wow.
They're doing roughly around 1,400 orders a week right now. It's important to, when you look at this, this is not how it started, obviously.
Right.
This takes time to get to this point.
But this is where you are now.
Yep.
How many orders are you sending a week?
1,400.
1,400.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to pick up as we go into the fourth quarter.
Do you pack every single day then?
Monday through Thursday.
You're packing every day.
Monday through Thursday.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. And you're shipping as far out as?
West Coast, California. Yep.
Wow.
New York, Florida, all that.
Very cool.
Primarily, though, I guess I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would say my guess is about 40% is still within that one-day zone.
So Midwest.
Yes. 3-day was one of our fastest growing categories, but it's also one of the most expensive categories. Just
right.
The shipping costs and packaging costs. So we partner with 50-plus farms that are within our Seven Sons partnership program that follow our protocols, and all that product flows through here and is packed out. So,
wow.
Yep.
Okay, so you said that you have a partnership program and you partner with 50 other farms.
Yep.
How does that work?
Well, that's been something that my brother Blake has mostly developed throughout the years. Originally it was just our farm, but as the demand grew, we were only a 550-acre farm between our land and my grandpa's. Yeah. So obviously we outgrew that footprint. And we don't want to be restricted by land. And here in northern Indiana, it doesn't really quite make sense to scale out land. So we've partnered with many different farms that produce beef, pork, the lamb, even the chicken for us, and now even the eggs. So Blake has primarily built out the beef and pork program and lamb. The bison, about half of it's from my grandpa, and there's about 2 other different bison farms that we partner with as well. Unique challenges for every farm is just learning how to make things profitable. Viable, and that's something that we've had to spend many years going through that intense learning curve and costly curve to begin to figure that out. What we've tried to, everything that we've learned, we've tried to imprint and share with others so they don't have to go through. Networking is an amazing thing. You can save yourself a lot of headache if you're just willing to be transparent, say where you're at, give the context of your farm and where you want to be, talk about your goals, and hear from others that have gone down the routes.
Right.
Have advice for it. So.
And I mean, as a direct-to-consumer farmer myself, right? Like we raised cows, pigs, chickens on pasture. You talk about that scalability to get to a level that you're at. You can't. If you want to have all of these animals on pasture and then ship them across the country, it's almost impossible to be able to do that on one farm with, one business. So to be able to partner with other farms who don't necessarily want to get into the marketing, the shipping, the sales, they know that they're going to raise a couple thousand birds for you, a couple hundred head of cattle, and they also get a paycheck, and it's still local, right?
Yeah,
it's still...
It all depends on what people's goals are and what they want to try to do with their entire farm. Some people prefer just to be on the farm side, the production side, and they prefer to raise the animal and find someone else to, in a sense, market the end product. But then there's other farms that want to be able to go directly to the end consumer, and that's what we designed Graze Cart for originally. The software company it was actually out of necessity of our own needs for our company. Graze Cart, we licensed that to multiple different farmers in the past. We've since transitioned from that company. That was a tool for many farmers to be able to raise their own product and direct e-commerce to the customer. So there are ways to do it. It is a hard process.
Right.
Lengthy one.
I forgot that you guys manufactured or created Graze Cart. I forgot that was part of your plan. So you kind of like have the whole basket.
We have since sold that company as we've tried to refocus into Seven Sons. That was I guess I brought that up as context of what we were able to do here, and again we just try to mimic that for others and provide that opportunity for others. Our website and the internet tool that we were using through Graze Cart is just essential.
Absolutely.
Whole picture.
So speaking of whole picture, we're gonna go see some of the animals you guys have on pasture now.
We'll head to this Viking, and because it's 550 acres and it's a little compartmentalized, so we're not gonna be able to walk it all.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I'm a hiker, but that's a lot. You know.
No, we'll use the Viking.
All right. So we made it to the pigs.
Talk
to me about how you manage your pigs and how many are out here right now.
So there's I think it's just 56 right now. We started off with 7. We just took some to the processor a couple weeks ago. So we're waiting for them to get to about that 300-pound range. They're actually scheduled to go out, I think, in 2 weeks. So they're about there. Looking good. Duroc, large black, old spot, a little bit of mixture of different breeds. More of genetic type is what we're typically looking for. We say that's the same thing with the cattle too. It's not just a specific breed, it's the genetic type that we're trying to source. They've been in this particular paddock I think for about a week and a half. The time that they spend in the paddock depends on the density, the size of the paddock, where they're at. Depends on the size, kind of the realisticness of setting up the paddock. But we're just looking for the impact on the pasture. Pigs are, by their nature, they're more disruptive.
Disruptive, I like that word, disruptive.
With their snouts, they love to dig and make a mess and bathe in that. And, that's how they clean themselves. You'll see a lot of that out here, which is great. You see a pig expressing their natural behaviors. So just 50 here. We source around, I think for this year, it's a total of about 1,700 or maybe 1,500, somewhere in that range for the year between our farm partners, either locally or a couple down in Kentucky. They're all going to be out on pasture, woodland. They're not confined to a concrete lot. None of that confinement type operation. They are fed a non-GMO corn and soybean feed ration. They're an omnivore. They're not a herbivore, so they can't entirely survive off of just the grass. That makes up probably about 80% of their diet. The rest of it, they're just foraging for who knows what. The pigs love to eat. They'll eat sticks and everything.
Like that. Like that one right there.
Like that right there. Proving me right, huh?
He's like, I want this bramble bush right here.
So
it's got thorns on it, and I don't care.
They don't care. So something really neat about the pigs. If you look over here, this is where they've actually been all summer. It's rotating through this entire woodland.
Wow.
And they do such a great job of clearing it up. When I grew up as a kid, we would come out in these woods and play, and it is just a thicket. It's just trees down everywhere, bushes. It's not a grass prairie land like that you see here. Still room for improvement. They just going through foraging and rooting up, disturbing that laden seed bank just provides that opportunity for new seed to sprout up. And this is all just natural. We haven't seeded anything in here, but years ago it'd just be leaves and weeds, poison ivy. I'm terribly allergic to that stuff. But it's beautiful to see that transition over the years. We also had goats in here. about 4 or 5 years ago. That helped with it as well. Using the species interact with the land, you want to use it in a smart way and not have them just out in your pastures, because you can overgraze in the pastures, and they can cause too much disturbance. So they're great in the woodlands, and we have I think about 80 acres total of woodlands, which works out well here.
So you said that there's usually about 70 here. Is that how many you finish a year?
That's just what we're doing here locally. So again, we're not trying to do. We have in the past. My brother Blake has done 400 or 500 a year here on the farm. So we've kind of scaled back when it comes to size of each model, just because of talk about the people power. So and what we're trying to focus on. So at this point, you know, we are keeping the enterprises here as proof of concept, you know, showing the models that we have done over the years. We have done it on large scale. But when it comes to just a management process, it doesn't quite make sense to have 400 hogs, you know, 200 cattle. Well, we can't even fit that amount here on the farm. So we're right sizing so we can have all these enterprises and showcase what we're doing and what we have done over the years. So.
Is that then saying that you have them here as a proof of concept, but you could just source all of your meat products from local farmers and do that? You wouldn't even have to grow any yourself to meet demand?
But then you know, you get out of touch with reality.
Right.
So that's the catch. You never want to do that. Because you got to be able to meet your producers and know the struggles, and you know, everything's changing as the years go by. You phase out of something, you're less in the nitty gritty of what it takes.
And I just think it's really cool that there are so many small farms out there that can produce enough for other people to eat. I think that we lose sight of that, and that's, you know, one of the main things that that made us decide to go travel and visit small farms. Because when we first started, I was talking with someone at a state park, and I told them what we were doing, and they said, "Oh, I thought the buying local thing was just like a COVID thing." And I'm like, no, you need to go buy from your local farmer, go buy from your small farmer. And I think that it's so easy for us to forget that there are so many small farmers out there that can and are feeding people, and it's just getting them to the people is the challenge. So you finish about 70 here in your distribution center. You finish about 1,700.
Just between all the farm partners, about 1,700 hogs that are going to go through probably the end of this year projected. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, we've gone through a lot of change over the years. You know, earlier on we were primarily sourcing all the hogs. Way earlier than that, same thing with the beef. You gotta learn how to change with the times, and you know, it's not about, you know, compromising in a sense and changing your values, but understanding how to pursue your goals, provide the opportunity for others too. So we want to keep our focus, you know, be a teaching model for others.
So with this model, then you don't have sows.
No.
You source the piglets.
Yep. Okay. So we actually, my wife and I, we went up to one of our farm partners up in Shipshewana, and we went and got the baby piglets. Well, they're 12 weeks old. But we also saw the piglets with the mama sows, and we filmed all that. It was really cool.
That's awesome.
But out on pasture, next to a woodland just like this, you know, they have the baby piglets in these little huts that they can on day one go in and out of. It's just wonderful to see.
You talked about the farm partnership program, so let's talk a little bit more in depth about that, because I think that sometimes people get too black and white, too all or nothing. You either do it all or you do nothing of it. And it can be hard to realize sometimes that there can be farms that act as a distributor, and you can sell, you know, wholesale and still be a part of a good system. So talk to me a little bit about how that program works and what your relationship with those farmers is like.
Yeah, so again, Blake primarily built that over the years. So it just kind of grew out of just necessity and farms wanting to, you know, sell through us. He has built that trusted relationship with these farm partners and developed protocols, our internal protocols that they have to sign off on.
Talk to me a little bit about what the protocols look like for your farm partnership program. Like, what are they expected to do? What are they recommended to do? And what are they not allowed to do whatsoever?
Yeah, so we're not an organic-based farm, never have been. So we've never been tied to some of those, I guess, restrictions in a sense that the organic realm has. It's not because we're not as, I guess you could say, as good as the organic standard. There's restrictions through the organic standard, and honestly kind of contradictions. We like to word it as that, you know, organic is focusing on things to not have in your food or your animals, but not really focused primarily on what you should do as a farmer to improve quality of the ingredients. So it's just never been something we focused on. But on our farm, we've just been a pasture-based. With the cattle, it's 100% grass-fed beef. Any of the herbivores, it's 100% grass-fed. That is our protocol.
Right.
You know, it's not grass-fed and finished on grain. And then with like the omnivores, the pigs, the poultry, non-GMO. Non-GMO is what we stand by. We have never sourced the GMO product since that came into being. And no drugs and antibiotics. In the poultry world, you can't even do antibiotics.
Right.
So, but obviously, those are the hard standards there.
Gotcha. Very cool. All right, so then where are we going next? Chickens?
We will hop back in. There's actually some sheep right over the,
Oh,
the
sweet.
hill there. So
yeah,
we'll
let's go see some sheep.
Yep.
I see a lot of white
Yep.
little animals over
There's a
here.
few out there.
How
Yep.
many sheep do you have?
So we have, I think, around 520 ewes right now.
Wow.
It's actually split into two different flocks at this given moment. This is the smaller one. There's probably about just under 200 ewes out here. Probably about the same amount of lambs. We started sheep here on the farm about 4 years ago. This is a Katahdin and Dorper mix.
Okay.
So haired sheep.
Yeah.
We are not shearing, and I'm glad we're not shearing. It's a lot of work.
That is a lot of work.
To the farmers that shear the sheep. They're great. They're fun to have. It's nice to see the different ruminants and how they graze. Their foraging habits are different from the cows.
Oh, that's a good point. What do you mean by that?
The cows typically will go for more of the grasses. The sheep love the legumes, clovers. They love to go for those. Yeah, you just get a more even grazing pattern, and just from their size alone, they're more versatile than the cow in a sense. Their footprint on the pasture when it comes to the I don't want to say destructiveness because I only use that for the hogs because they're more disruptive with their snouts. They're just not as heavy. So
their impact.
their impact on the soil is less. The wet spring and later fall, so that can be nice and beneficial for the soil.
Oh, that's a good point. So like if you've got an area that's a little wet, you can put your sheep out there instead of putting the cows out there so that the cows don't like really bog it up.
Yep.
That's I never thought of that. That's a
we
good
share
idea.
the pasture land with both. The sheep are not going to graze everything, so you need the cattle to come through and get the rest. And we, as you know, I'll talk more about this when we get to the cattle, but it's really important about not overgrazing. It's one of the things I think that any grass farmer makes a mistake of, is thinking that there's still grass out there, let them graze it. Typically, we don't want to graze any more than 50%. If you go over that 50% mark, you graze 50, knock down the other 50. If you go over that mark, you tend to you just stunt the pasture. You kill off over 50% of the root structure from that just type of overgrazing management. So you obviously want to have good regrowth. Problem is just, as we've learned over the years, is that we come back to the same area too soon. So you want to give it a good long rest, up to 90 days. Depending upon this changes probably, region of the United States and what your season's like, your growing season, how much rain you get. These sheep are typically, they're in each paddock for about 3 days here on our farm. Again, depends on the density that you're working with. The ewes lambed back in May. That is a fun process. You can come out every day for that whole 2-week span and you'll see 30 new lambs on the ground. So a lot of fun. They come with their challenges though. Sheep, they're a more fragile animal compared to the cow or even the pig. They're more susceptible to just different parasites, hoof problems. So they're a little bit more labor intensive. And I'll talk more about that. Different enterprises bring their unique upsides and challenges. And we've done many of them. Sometimes people, they get so diversified into all these enterprises and they decide, oh crap, right back down into one or two, because it can get so chaotic.
Absolutely.
That spread can kill you.
Yeah.
Kill the farm in a sense.
So how have you been able to diversify so heavily?
Well, like I said a little bit earlier, the importance is not trying to just maximize everything here in the moment. That's a management conundrum that can be hard to keep flowing well.
Yeah.
And viable. Typically, I see that a lot of farms will do 2 to 3 different enterprises, and usually that one staple.
Now, I know you've talked about you have most of these animals on here just for showing how to do them, but I mean, you are heavily diversified. So how do you make sure that you're not too spread apart and that you can kind of do more things?
Well, so the easiest way to answer that is sheep right now is when it comes to density of numbers, is the largest enterprise we have here on the farm. The rest of it, the cattle, about 100, and the pigs is just 70 this year. Layers are still at about 3,000 layers.
Why is it sheep that's the biggest?
When it comes to just profit per head on the acreage standpoint, is why we transitioned to sheep about 4 years ago. Just when it comes, because of the max amount of acreage we have here, only allowed about 250 cattle. So it made more sense to try the sheep. Again, we've done both over the years. Blake's ran 250-ish head per year on the farm. He's done 400 hogs a year. Yeah, you talk to seasoned farmers that have done it, they'll tell you that it may not be the easiest thing to do long term when you have that many different enterprises. Got to figure out what your goals are. But for us, the sheep right now, it makes more sense financially to have more here when it comes to just, they're a smaller footprint, more sheep per acreage.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yep.
And you're selling the meat product.
Yep.
You're just selling lamb.
It's like, because it's a haired sheep, so
Right.
yeah, it's just for the lamb meat.
I'm always so interested when people are selling lamb meat because it's not something that is, I don't know, it's just not eaten so much throughout the U.S., but you get into bigger cities
Yep.
and have not just American culture there. There's a really big need and demand for them. So I always get so interested.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely a growing category. There's a market out there for it. It's a smaller portion of what we do overall. Beef, again, is our staple.
Yeah.
There's opportunity for it.
Yeah. I'm going to pause because this water is very interesting. Tell me about this water. This looks so simple and easy. And
it does look simple and easy. That's because it is simple and
that's
easy.
awesome. I love this.
Yeah, I believe that's just a drum.
Yeah,
like
55-gallon drum.
55, and
And
you
just
got
a
your
water.
float valve, so just cut a hole through and do the plumbing, and it's just float valve. It fills up. We've over the years, a little bit of history. We've spent many years building fencing and putting in water line.
Yeah.
So it's all here now. I'd have to call Blake and ask how many miles of fencing we have.
A lot,
I would say, yeah, at least 10 miles of fencing, and at least half of that is water line as well.
Yeah.
Some of it underground, some above ground. So
Okay.
just to make that chore routine structure easier, so you're not lugging water out on a daily basis. It's just 100-foot garden hoses, plug in, float valves.
Yeah.
Those are techniques you learn on the production side.
Well, I mean, even we just came from Vermont and we put up a fence for a friend and put in some water line. And he just has black poly pipe laying on the ground with a Ploss and Quick Connect in it.
Yep.
And I was like, why in the world did we dig water lines? This is amazing.
Yep.
We should have never dug water lines. What were we thinking? It's just the cool things that you see on a farm. So, I mean, that water is so simple, very inexpensive.
Yeah, so I mean, we only dig in the areas where we know we need frost free in the wintertime.
Right.
So yeah, just gotta really think through where you're gonna be housing animals through all seasons and do what's necessary.
Yeah. Okay, so we made it to the cows, and this is a group of mama cows. It looks like are these feeders or are these cows?
These are Black Angus cows.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah, the cattle are near and dear to our hearts. That's where we began.
Yeah.
With the beef cattle, and I would say more for Blake, because he's managed the beef here on the farm for many years. Yeah, these are Black Angus cows that we have in. We got them in about 2 months ago now. They should be finishing out here in the next month or two, I believe.
So are they calving or?
No, well, there was two. I don't know if you saw that out there.
I saw a calf out there.
Two that slipped through. So these are cows that would have been culled from this year's calving.
Oh,
So
okay.
they didn't calve. Well, they're not mama cows, but they are cows that were.
They're not part of your breeding stock, is what you're saying.
No. This is for the beef. So I know finishing cows can be there's a lot of thought around just the quality of the meat and how it finishes, the marbleization. But it's something that can be done and that we're doing here on our farm. It takes some know-how, and genetics is a huge part when it comes to being able to finish a cow. All these cows are under 5-6 years of age. So, as a cow ages, it is harder to finish and get that quality marbling with the fat, get more of that gristly fat that can happen. But through the right techniques of management of grazing and the genetics type, you can really create quality grass-fed beef.
Yeah. So how old are they when you finish them?
Most of these are between the ranges of 3 and 6 years. This particular herd here is only going to be here for about 4 months just to finish them out.
So walk me through that then. So you have a herd of breeding stock, and then how do you finish them? I guess
this herd right here is sourced from ranches that practice their same grass-fed models. So we're sourcing cattle that are within all the protocols, but this particular herd is cows. Not typically we do heifers or steers.
Okay.
This is something that we started this year as we are establishing our grazing patterns to marbleize this type of meat. And we've done some testing, and it's really, really wonderful quality. Because with age comes more flavor. So.
And we've seen that at multiple farm tours where they're saying it's actually not about getting a 12, 13, 14-month-old beef steer. It's actually about getting a 2-3-year-old steer or a 4 or 5 year old cow,
Yep.
and that's what the quality is. And and I would agree, holy cannoli,
Yep. Yep.
the quality is amazing.
Yep.
So this is a new management technique.
Yep.
So I guess how many herds of cattle do you have on the farm?
Right now, just this one. We did have another
these.
one just
Okay.
2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Those was just went in to the processor as well. I have to talk with Blake, but I do know we're going to have some more coming in. It's a cycle all throughout the year.
So you're basically finishing cattle
Yep.
on the farm.
Yep.
You're not doing.
We're not doing cow calving.
Okay,
Blake
gotcha.
did that years ago, but as we learned with all the enterprises, the more you can focus in specific types of the enterprise, the better. Things that you're good at, you can do well. So cow calving's different process there. So we don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Typically, we get the cows in this around that 800-pound range and finish them out from there.
Right.
So this particular herd here is cows, not heifers and steers.
But they're going to be used as beef.
Beef.
Interesting. Talk to me how that model came about, because that's different.
It is different. Beef pricing is such a conundrum in the U.S. and it just keeps going up. And
Yeah.
it's a problem.
Yeah.
We don't want to just keep imposing price hikes as the industry cattle prices keep going up. You don't want to price yourself out of the market. And many competing similar pasture or grass-fed brands, one of the simple fixes for this problem of beef prices is just outsourcing imported grass-fed beef from like Australia.
Yeah.
So that's probably majority of 100% grass-fed beef is imported. So when it comes to
Like at the grocery store.
yes,
Yeah.
the 100% grass-fed beef, majority of that is imported. At least 80% of that is.
Wow.
So obviously, we don't want to import. We're trying to navigate that that problem and find creative ways that we and every other farmer can finish cattle and have that wonderful quality meat. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that you're finding ways, because I mean we've heard that too, that it's a lot of people aren't doing cattle this year because they can't afford to buy the feeders to finish out. So I think this is a great idea, and I'm excited to see how it goes for you guys. All right, so we made it back to the home farm.
Yes.
And we've talked about how you've been able to grow a lot on here. You've changed your model a little bit. You get certified farmers around to help with your demand, and you used your distribution center to send it out. Like, how big of an operation really are you? Like, we talk about small farms being the farmer, right? And like, that's it.
Yeah.
But we saw quite a few workers while we were out, quite a few workers in there. How many people are like being employed by Seven Sons Farm?
Yeah, right now we're going between 30 to 40 full-time people and part-time on the farm, and some of them are remote as well. Yeah, the farm team's around 5 to 7 people total on the farm working with the animals.
Yeah.
It has grown over the years. We've been blessed, to at this point now. It is a larger farm operation that is partnering with multiple different farms.
Yeah. We said it at the beginning, but just to reiterate, I mean, you're sending 1,700 orders a week. How many pounds of meat do you think that is? Or I should say pounds of protein. Do you think that is every week?
You know what? That's a great question. I'm going to say that each of our boxes at least weigh 30 pounds would be my guess.
Am I allowed to get like some of this?
Yep. So
this is what the boxes look like.
Yep, assembly line process here. Each person here is assigned specific SKUs that they're packing. So Evan, for example, would maybe have steaks, and this person over here would have something that poultry SKU, and just keep it more efficient that way and minimize the mispacks per order. Right now, I think they're ranging at like 99%, so less than 1% of mispacks.
Wow.
With the orders going up.
So we're not in a freezer, but these are your boxes of meat. So did you just
they pull them out of the freezer at the end of the packing day. So this is like the staging product that they're pulling from.
Wow.
And then when they're done, they put it all back in.
Okay.
So,
wow, what a system. And we just found out, so this is about 15 to 20,000 pounds of protein going out every week.
Yep.
Feeding people all across the country.
Yes. Yep. So,
wow. I mean, to be able to say like it started right here in Indiana and you're partnering with farms kind of all over and feeding people all over. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah. No,
right?
It's definitely what we want to be pursuing. We want to save the family farm in America and provide that model for other farms.
Yeah. Let's go over here, and Not to get like controversial or anything, but it does beg the question, how do you not turn into Walmart?
Yes, that is a great question, because the footprint, because you want to stay local still.
Right.
That is part of the conundrum. When we say that we ship to the West Coast, that does beg the question of, well, are you still a local product? Arguably, you would say no to the West Coast as being local. That's not very local.
Right.
So we've looked at different avenues of how to partner with other farms when it comes to the West Coast, and that's also the reason why we've kind of scaled back the West Coast. It doesn't really make sense to keep scaling up that model.
Yeah.
And the logistics footprint of how product moves. So that starts to, you get into realms where you're like, well, does that make sense to source products a certain way? So
Right.
it is a great question to stay in balance when it comes to how the protein, wherever it has to go to get to the end consumer.
Right.
It's a great question. So
Yeah.
no, I would not say that we are equivalent of Walmart.
Of course, yeah.
Like that. But and obviously, our focus has been in the quality and regenerative standards and
Yeah.
the humane treatment of animals.
Yeah, absolutely.
With our farm partners. So, yeah.
So what would be next for Seven Sons Farm then?
Next
Or are
is-
you just kind of like at your level and you're okay being there? Or is there like a tier that you're working up towards?
Next step, I guess, trying to solve those problems of as you're scaling, how to grow in holistic, sustainable ways. To not repeat any models that are,
Yeah.
kind
Not
of
just
through
fall
the-
back into the easy
so-
system.
Yep. Nope.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, Bruce, thank you so much for showing me around
Yep.
everything. I mean, there was so much to see here, and I feel like we got a
grazed
good.
over it. Yep,
Yeah, we
yep,
did just graze
yep.
over it. But I tell every farmer, we could be here for hours and hours and
Oh, yeah.
hours and
Yep.
still be talking. But this is just so cool, and I love the distribution model that you have set up and the standards that you have set for the small farm that you're helping to share their product. So, thank you so much for having me
coming
out.
out. We're
I
glad to
appreciate it.
share the story. Hope it's informative and helpful for everyone that watches the videos.
Absolutely.
So we appreciate what you do, going
Thank
about
you.
and interviewing all these farms and
Yeah.
hearing these stories and sharing those stories. It's such an important part.
Yeah. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
So this place is definitely a place that we wanted to see before we left Indiana the first time. So the fact that we were able to get here before we leave again is so great. And like we talked about, there are so many different models of regenerative that works. And finding the one that works for you is what's most important. They have really found a way to feed their community, employ their community, and feed a lot more people. So anyway, this was a wonderful tour. Thank you for coming along with me. We still have quite a few to see while we're in Indiana, and I don't think that they will disappoint you. So I will see you at the next one.